Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in to us from. My name's Joshua, the founder and director of the El Terreno Cultural Exchange Center here in the Ecuadorian Andes. Today's presentation is something that has been on my internship project bucket list for a couple of years now. And it's really great to have seen it emerge with the passion of the interns like Theo and Nora, who have come and brought a very diverse range of skills and knowledge and really dived into a project that in the long term I could see having a real impact on local communities here that, as you will hear in a second, struggle with being able to build reliable, comfortable homes at a realistic price that they can afford. And while there are many areas and many projects which we work in to try and address some of these issues of poverty and especially migration, housing is most certainly one of them. And so it's great to have interns who have been able to come for such a long time. 3 months is a great amount of time for interns to be with us to get their teeth into a project and really see some progress in what they're doing. So I'm really happy to and excited to see the final presentation of these guys today. And without further ado, I will pass on to Nora and Theo.
Thank you very much, Joshua. I'm going to start sharing my screen and share the presentation. Okay, so welcome again, everybody. I'm going to start with a quick introduction from everybody who participated in this project. It's only Theo and me today presenting, but there have been 5 people in general working on this project since, I think, the beginning of July, August. And the first person to come here was Sophia from Switzerland. She was an architect and she started the whole process of this housing project. Yeah, sadly, she can't make it. As well as Sophia, Erin was here from England. She was an interior designer and worked mostly on the furniture that could be built inside of the house. Yeah, we're going to see a little bit about that later on. That's me. My name's Nora. I'm from Germany and I'm a civil engineer and currently doing my master's in resource efficient construction with a focus on natural materials and resource efficiency, which is mainly why I'm here to learn techniques from other cultures who focus as well on the use of natural materials and being sustainable for our future.
So, hi to everybody. My name is Theo in French, and I'm a civil engineer from France. I have a diploma in engineering structures, so it's not exactly what we're doing here, but yeah, I think it's fine. The last person in the project is Charlotte, whom is a landscape architect, and she helped us for a few weeks, but unfortunately, due to personal reasons, she couldn't keep going on the project. But yeah, we're grateful for her. So the agenda of today's meeting is going to be first a little bit of context on the project. Then we are going to see like our research states over the local needs for local populations and how our visits helped us this way. Then the more practical research over some technical details and more like engineering and architecture stuff. Then the design evolutions of mostly the floor plans and the other views Sophia designed. Then the technical development, which is mainly engineering work. Then pricing and timetable, and then a little conclusion and the next steps maybe the future intern school could take on.
So yeah, to talk a little bit about the context of the project, We are currently in Ecuador, in Guaranda, one of a very rural areas in Ecuador, where the traditional way of housing is using like adobe and a lot of Madeira. Sorry, adobe is a clay product, and Madeira is the Spanish word for wood. You can see that I have been talking a mix of Spanish and English for a long time now. Yeah, this way of building is almost lost around here. As you can see in this picture, a lot of the houses are being built with concrete bricks now because it's way easier, it's cheaper, it's faster, and also seen as a little bit of a modern way to build houses. And the like traditional way of building houses can be seen as poor because it's using just earth, but it's a very interesting technique. And yeah, we wanted to find a way to build sustainable and cheap and easy to build houses for an affordable price and for social purposes around here, because a lot of people are really in need of a nice place to live but can't afford it themselves. And then the product is what you can see, a lot of like concrete buildings. And yeah, just to make clear, like the first idea was to come here for Theo and me and to try to build one of the houses we would like to plan, which obviously didn't work out. We didn't have enough time in the end to like come to a satisfying state of our plans. We did have a problem to find enough builders to build a house as well. So yeah, with all these challenges, we've decided to focus on making really good research, making really nice plans, and then leave some work for future interns to come and hopefully take this project more forward. Yeah.
So one of the first challenges we had was try to define what local population needs, because for me at least one of the first thing I realized coming here is quite like it quite bring me back to reality, and there's still some really modest population, especially here, which only maybe would afford a house for a few $1,000s, which is absolutely not what we're used to in Europe, of course. And so we we needed to meet some people, to talk with them, to have maybe kind of some studies of anthropology, how family works. Can you switch the slide, Nora, please? And just to try and realize what is their way of living, what is their traditions, what is their beliefs, how family works there, and all of those things would then let us define how to utilize the space. What are the priorities if we are building like a really modest house? What is to be prioritized and what maybe will be done years later or maybe not. And so we needed all those answers to then be able to come with an architectural plan and designs. Can you pass it, please, Nora? Can you pass the slide, please, Nora?
Yeah, 1 second, sorry. Okay.
And so, yeah, there were a lot of things to take into account. So mainly their own culture, their own history. Also, like we needed to find quite a target. So an environment like maybe a way of life and earnings, because a lot of families here are just living off what they are growing, of animals. They don't really have any income, which is really a problem when you're trying to build a house, because you of course need money and not just like products. So we met a few families and tried to visit a few houses to try and understand them and try to understand what their needs were. And it wasn't that easy because, of course, as young Europeans coming in and trying to talk with them wasn't always like they weren't always speaking their mind, which is quite hard sometimes where you are just trying to get some answers. But fortunately, some locals like Wilma, which is here, were really open about it and really like giving us really useful answers. Yeah, we can pass it.
Okay, so yeah, I'm talking about our more practical kind of research. We visited a lot of places like Chakra Andina, which you can see here. I'm going to talk about that in a second. First of all, I think it was my first week here that we started to have this wall workshop with Fernando, who was one of our mentors here. He's an architect who works mainly with natural materials. And at one of the local projects Joshua started here at Gina's house, we planned to do a wall workshop where we wanted to learn more about traditional techniques. And in this picture, you can see like 5 different departments where we tried out different techniques. And in this slide, you can see how the process was a little bit. Like the first picture is me sifting local soil. So we wouldn't use soil we would buy from a faraway place. Of course, we would use the soil we have inside. And the next step then is to add water, lime, mostly horse poop and straw, and then mix it with our feet. In this case, it was Erin and Fernando mixing the adobe mix. And yeah, in the last picture, you can see a little bit of the building site. So we had to put up different work frames because some materials can be built up by themselves. The first one, definitely like on the left-hand side, it's just adobe bricks. You don't need a wall work frame for that. But for Bareke, for Coop, and for Paja and Confrara, and also Tapial, you need a work frame. So this is what you can see in this picture. And in the end, it looks more or less like this. So the first one on the left-hand side is adobe bricks, which we found was the fastest, but you would need experienced people. Best case scenario, you need builders to build these kind of walls for just precision and a very good outcome. The next one is tapial. It's just rammed earth. So really great method to just use the soil you have on hand at your building site. Then the next one is paja en confrada, which means it's a compacted straw and clay mixture, also kind of rammed into a working frame. Then it's cob. No, sorry. First comes bareke, which is also a straw and clay mix, but it's put on top of a skeleton, which makes it pretty fast. And the last small wall department we can see is then cob. It's the same mixture as before, but brought into layers, which takes it quite a lot of time to build up. I think in the end, it took me about 2 weeks to finish that wall because you have to wait for the layers to dry, which makes it obviously not as useful because it just takes a lot of time. Besides the physical work at the wall workshop, we also visited Chakra Andina, which is a very nice place close to Riobamba, where they have built several lodges for tourists using bamboo and tapial, like a lot of natural techniques, which was very inspirational to see and very beautiful, in my opinion. Also, we visited some building sites with some engineers from Guaranda. This is a building site in Guanujo, very close by, where we could see how they built their foundations here, using a lot of stones they just have on hand, mostly at the local building site, which means they can reduce the use of concrete. And the right picture is showing a connection between a pillar and the foundation, which makes like this connection especially makes it really safe for earthquake, which is something we have to keep in mind in this area. Then I spent a lot of time at Daisy's house. Daisy's is Wilma's cousin, and they are building out this, I think it's a 150 years old house made of adobe. And I spent about 3 to 4 weeks there to help them build the roof, which was very exciting to see them doing this very simple connection, you could say, but all with their hands, like not a lot of machines were being used. And that was very, very exciting and very teaching for me. This is one of the connections between a pillar and a beam. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. I tried to do the connection by myself. I failed. It was really nice to see the maestro doing it very easily. Yeah, that's how the connection looks from the side. So that this Z kind of connection is there to really be able to hold together in a place of earthquake, in a case of earthquake. And the wood didn't fit really well together, so they used just cement to fill in the gaps, which was something very new for me, but seems to work. Yeah, and there was more work like nailing roof planks on the roof beams, and on the right side you can see Theo finishing up some adobe walls.
Yeah, can we go to the next one straight? So on the design evolutions, so of course the first, as Nora said, the first intern that was here was Sophia, and Sophia was also in architectural studies, and she was the one designing the first floor plans. So that's what they look like. So there's the floor plan on the left, and there's some views on the right. And as we can see, I mean, you will see later, but the structure is globally the same. So the idea was to have a 6x6 house with a pillar every 3 meters, which would make it square and would make it modular, so that we can then adapt really easily to any sun orientation, anything that would make, like, maybe if the view is nicer east, the orientation of the house would be different, and all that kind of stuff, so that we could keep like really one model for and adapt it to every family that needed. That was the initial thought. Can you pass it, Nora, please? And then like our anthropological studies like learned us many things, especially that unlike maybe in our countries, several generations of a family would usually live together, which means that, for example, if the base target was only a couple with 2 children, now you probably need to add maybe a grandmother, maybe a grandfather, maybe both, which would mean you need more space, or at least you need to maximize the number of rooms you are going to have in this space. Also, we learned that families are meant to grow, and when families are growing, people are not necessarily leaving the house, which means you again need some more bedrooms or some more space for maybe another little family, which means you might need to extend the house. What we have seen here is like a lot of reinforcement in the pillars when you're going around, or left open, so that maybe years later a family would be able to build another floor on top of the house, which we thought about it, but it's not as easy if you're using natural materials. And after a discussion with Wilma, actually, we realized something was really missing in our designs, and it was storage spaces for the families, because all of the families that lives here usually have or growing a lot of stuff. Could be corn, could be potatoes, could be anything, and they will need to store it. So Wilma told us that 20% of the space of a house should actually be a bodega which means a storage place. So you'll see in the next plans we have thought about it. Can we pass it, please? Perfect. So that's the first picture of all of us working together. So you can see Erin and Sophia and the two of us. Fernando is on the left and Joshua. And that's what we came with after a few weeks. And we can see here that we reduced a lot the spaces of each rooms and try to get the most out of it. So try to get 3 bedrooms instead of 1 or 2, which could then be a house fitted for a couple, 2 children, and maybe a grandmother. So the main word was maybe more rooms, because they don't want to share a room when they're growing older, and they want to have privacy as well, which is absolutely understandable. Can we pass it, please? So after a few weeks, Sophia went, and we didn't have any architect left because Charlotte only stayed for 2 weeks. And so I tried to make some floor plans, which are really more technical and less pretty and finished. But that's the final design. So the little extension you can see on the left would be the bodega, the storing spaces. Above that is what we would call here a piedra de lavar, which would mean a washing station, which is really useful for the families of the camp. And then we have 2 bedrooms, one for the parents, ideally, and a smaller one for the children's, with probably bunk beds. Above that is space for a bathroom, and then the biggest room would be like a kitchen and a living space. We also added a small partition in between the bathroom and the kitchen to prevent like odors and those kind of stuff. And the idea was to just keep every room that needed water on the same size, on the same side of the house, to make it easier. So yeah, that's the final design someone could take over. And we tried also to reduce, but might need to be studied a bit more, the windows, because of course the more windows there are and the bigger they are, the more thermal insulation you are losing. And Nora is going to speak a bit more about what we thought for thermal insulation.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to take over and talk a little bit more about the technical side. When I came here, as you could see, the structure was held pretty simple, which yeah, makes it quite easy. So we have a house 6 by 6, and every 3 meters a pillar. And we thought about using as much wood as we could, because there is wood around here a lot. We have a lot of eucalyptus trees, and Joshua had some eucalyptus wood already cut down and yeah, cut down into pillars, more or less. So it was obvious that we would try to use as much as we could of that to build a kind of exhibition model around here to show people who might want to build one of our houses how it could be done, how it could look. And yeah, this is the main concept of the structure. Use just pointy foundations to like reduce the use of concrete again on top of the foundations, pillars every 3 meters, and then big beams in one direction, smaller beams in the rectangular 90 degrees direction, and then a roof construction on top of that that is holding insulation, which is unusual around here to make the effort of insulating the roof, but it's one of the main things why houses are really, really cold. So we really wanted to include insulation. Yeah, that's just a 90-degree turned view of the pillars and the structure. Yeah, the first idea was, as I already said, to use eucalyptus wood for the construction. And my first idea coming from Germany, and sorry, I have to point out one thing before. When we did count the wood that was available already, we quickly saw that the pillars or the wooden pieces are too short for the 6x6 house. So we would need to connect every single beam in at least like 2 positions, which is not really a problem, but it is some work. And my first idea to connect those beams and rafters was was this side here. So pretty simple, just some bolts, just some like overlapping. And I was taught a lot when we went to see some engineers in Guaranda. They were very clear that this wouldn't work how I imagined it, because we're in an earthquake region, obviously, and you're supposed to have a bigger overlap of like at least 20 centimeters between each beam, and the connection should look more or less like this, so it can really like grip into each other. And also the connection should never be on top of the pillar, but obviously like around a third of the distance between each pillar. I'm not getting too technical here. But yeah, this is just to visualize the loads that are being put onto the beam. And yeah, as you can see, like about a third around every pillar, there's the load the lowest. So that's where we would do the connection. From an engineer point of view. As you can see in the next picture, local builders have a very different opinion about that. Like a lot of builders we talked to, and also the construction site I've been working on, they would do the connection way simpler. Like this was the connection we saw in a pictures from Daisy's house. Some builders said it would even be enough to do the connection like this, and just put like it's called a spiegar, like, how would you say it in English? Yeah, just kind of a wooden nail, a spike on top of the pillar and connected with the beam like this. And on the bottom, you could do like a bottle size spiegar as well, and just put it in the concrete. So much simpler, in the end, much easier to do, and obviously way cheaper. Because as you could see, the engineers wanted to have this metal construction here. I showed you on the picture in the beginning on the building site, and the local builder said, no, we don't need any metal here. Let's just do it like this. So yeah, and that was really interesting and a big part of this internship, to have so many different opinions and to have like really experienced people that have built their houses like this for a long time and it's working. And yeah, then on the other side, engineers with a lot of experience as well. And yeah, we kind of tried to find a good middle way, which would be affordable, but also safe and nicely done. And yeah. And I'm going to talk about the roof construction a little bit. As Theo already said, I'm going to talk about the insulation. Yeah, we tried to research a little bit of how to work with bamboo, because bamboo is really cheap. It's very available here, and you can get it in long pieces as well. So we wouldn't have to do all these connections with the wood we have on hand. But bamboo is hollow inside, so the connection of beams and rafters is a little bit more complicated. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if we would build a house with a bamboo construction or a mixture of wood and bamboo, there would be like a special builder needed, which could make the whole thing a little bit more expensive, but we don't know that exactly. So it's, in my opinion, really interesting way to build, because it is a local material, it is cheap, and bamboo is called the steel, like natural steel, and it is really strong. So yeah, I think it would be interesting to explore that more. Yeah, and that's the same construction, but instead of using metal or wood, we thought about using metal rafters. And yeah, that would, I think Theo is going to talk about that later. That is going to be really expensive, at least compared to bamboo. If you would have to buy wood, I'm not so sure, but yeah, just different construction options depending on what do the people have on hand. A lot of people here have their own wood or have access to bamboo, so it makes sense to use those kind of materials. But if you don't have them, some people might tend to metal because it's what they are used to as well, or used to see. Yeah, then we explored different options for a floor. We wanted to use as little concrete as possible, so we thought about using like fired bricks to make like a pavement in the house as well. But yeah, it turned out to be even more work, therefore more expensive and time consuming. And also people told us that they wouldn't want it. I think Wilma said he really would like it, but yeah, a lot of other people told us they would prefer just a concrete floor because it's easier to clean and to maintain. And yeah, so that was one option. Really important here, or in every floor option, that we make sure there is no water coming up through the floor or the wall. And yeah, so this is the floor option we decided on for now. Might change up when we leave again. But yeah, we decided to use a concrete slab, and to make it a little bit more prettier, we decided to use magnesium. I can't come up with the Spanish word right now. Maybe Theo can help me out. But
it's named Caboa.
Caboa, right? Yeah. It looks really beautiful. But yeah, in the end, it's just a concrete slab. And to make it as thin as possible, we would use a mix of rocks and gravel underneath, and also some volcanic stones, which are very cheap around here and could, yeah, just make a little of insulation in the floor. Yeah. And this is the idea for the foundation. Again, as I already said, we're going to use like pointy foundation to use as little concrete as possible, a little metal reinforcement, and then this kind of stucco. Again, using stones as well, so we don't need concrete for the whole volume. And then on top, the wooden pillar. And we've planned now with adobe bricks and fired bricks. Yes. yeah, this is the wall type we decided on. As I already said in the workshop, it turned out that the bricks are the fastest way, and we tried to use as many adobe bricks as possible instead of fired bricks, because they are a little bit cheaper and don't need the energy to burn. So it would be a little bit more sustainable as well. And here it's really important to have a layer of plastic underneath, then the Soccolo, and then fired bricks, about like 4 layers, just to get the adobe bricks out of any moisture, because adobe bricks are not fired, and therefore they should not be in too much moisture, and also kept out of the rain as much as possible. Yeah, this would be like the structure every 3 meters, a pillar, and in between the masonry. And for adobe bricks especially, we would need like these metal rebars about every 50 centimeters, because otherwise, with the adobe drying out over time, there can be cracks, and to prevent that, we would need the metal rebar. And in this version, we would have bamboo on top, but yeah. Yeah, and this is just to show how the windows would be constructed. So there would just be a wooden piece on top, and this distance should be between like 20 and 30 centimeters to distribute the load of the wall above the window into the wall. Yeah. Back to you, Theo.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, not back to you. I'm going to show my models first. I'm sorry. Yeah. So in lack of a CAD program around here, I focused mainly on 3D modeling of the house. This is what it would more or less look like. So to make sure this around here is no concrete, it's just gravel to have a surface to walk around the house. And yeah, the red concrete floor, the fire bricks on the bottom, and then adobe bricks above, wooden construction, and then the roof, where you can see that there's insulation in between. We want to do like straw insulation because that's very available and very cheap around here. Then just make sure to close everything with mesh, so no insects and animals can get into the roof and make themselves a home. Yeah, I can try to take off the roof so we can see inside. No. Oops. Okay, so again, this would be the big bedroom for the parents, a smaller bedroom for children, maybe with bunk beds. Over here would be the bathroom, and then a little partition wall. We would have some storage space over here. Then the kitchen area. In this place exactly, we would have the view of Chimborazo through this window, which is a beautiful mountain. And yeah, over here, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, over here, just more space for a couch or something. And then over here is the bodega Theo talked about. In this case, pretty big. But yeah, as we already said, there's a big need for that. And as well, a washing station. A lot of people here don't have washing machines, so it's just a hand washing of their clothes. Yeah. So that's more or less it. And I made different versions. I'm going to show really quickly. This one would be with the bamboo beams and rafters, which would look nice. It would be possible to do these pillars out of bamboo as well. Again, need to explore the connection of that a little bit more. And this one is a wild one. Here we would use a lot more bamboo, and we would try to elevate the whole house, which would leave us with room for real insulation, which would make the house way warmer overall. And the walls could be, instead of fired and adobe bricks, out of straw, or yeah, one of the techniques we tried out in the wall workshop. So yeah, I think that might be really interesting. It's heavily inspired by Chakra Andina, one of the sites we visited, and yeah, definitely needs more research. I hope somebody takes that over. Yeah, and to show, wait, okay, sorry about that. To show Erin's work before I'm gonna be done. She put a lot of work into working out how this tiny space could be used the best way. So we have a lot of storage space above the doors. We have the idea of bunk beds in the children's room, maybe even with space underneath the bed for them to work or do their homework. Yeah, the bathroom with a pretty big shower, I would say, and a compost toilet, which was one of Joshua's biggest wishes, to reduce the use of water or the need of water. And what else can I show? Yeah, the kitchen looks nice. And yeah, in general, it was an idea to sell these houses with inbuilt furniture to make like the most of it. But obviously, that would be an individual decision as well for everybody, if they want to use their own furniture or like make up their own designs. Yeah, back to you, Theo, now.
Yeah, can we go straight to the next one, please? So, yeah, as Nora said, we, for almost everything, had different options. And as we said a bit earlier in the context, a huge part of it was to try and build something for relatively modest families. So not more than a few thousand dollars. And as you can see, for example, when you're exploring the different option, if it's for rafters, all of a sudden you're using metal and you need like $400 more only for the materials. So as Nora said, bamboo might be a little bit trickier and more expensive to use and to work with, but in the end, it might still be a win. Same thing for the floors. Um, I'm sure a floor with some cooked bricks would have been very nice, but it would have been more expensive for sure. Can we pass it? So that's a bit what we used as well to make some decision, to try and find the right balance between having a nice and comfortable house and at the same time trying to stay in a modest budget. And that's about what we come around maybe between $2,000 and $2,500 for the materials. And then of course you will need to add the price of the labor. Then we pass it. What we use as well is timetables. So we used it as a group and kind of as a small company to try and follow up with each people task and try to set up some gemstones as well. And can we pass it, please? What we imagined as well is it's something that would be really useful for when you're actually building the house or anything. And so we worked a bit on one, which unfortunately didn't happen. But the idea was, if we were building it, it would have needed to be in between 1 month, which of course was really, really short and hard. And especially when you're building something, there's always some surprises and some things that are going to go late. But yeah, we did a first try, and probably that the next person that are going to actually build it can use it and rework on it a little. Can we pass it, please? To give a conclusion, can we go straight to the conclusion? Yeah. So the whole idea of this project was, of course, as Nora showed, try to find solutions, try to be sure that technically we are ready, but also having to find a balance between, for example, being affordable and the sustainability, which of course we all want to use no concrete or no metal and only natural material, but unfortunately that's not the reality of the population living here. And so we have to try and do our best to give them a nice balance between affordability and sustainability. And it was quite the same thing with everything, because, for example, paying builders or having a minga, we didn't explain what a minga is. A minga is everybody around you, so your family, neighbors, trying to help you build something, and then maybe 5 years later you will help them build something. And that's something that is still really a reality here, and from what we have heard is quite losing itself, but it would be a really nice way to make some economies and just arrive to build something really nice for them. Can we pass it, please? And lastly, the next steps that could be laid for our future interns. We have seen some here. Of course, more research, maybe more on the anthropological level as well. Might still be some things we didn't know, and might be some little adjustment needed. Some over the technical equipment, over the floor plans, of course, because we lost our our last architect, and my work could be like really much better if an architect actually did it, I'm sure. There is a lot more stuff to explore as well. Maybe be able to extend the project for local populations would be a really nice achievement for what we planned, and being able to adapt the model when the times comes to lead the needs, so the orientation for the sun, the orientation for the windows, and for everything. So yeah, there's so much more to explore. We wanted to say to Joshua to keep calm, because I'm sure help is on his way, and yeah, the next people I'm sure are going to do a great work with this project. So thanks a lot for everyone for listening to us today, and yeah, I think Nora and I are really grateful to have been part of this project. So thanks a lot.
Well done, guys. A really comprehensive presentation there. So much detail, but I think it all makes sense and it all weaves together. I think it's one of the most well-developed design projects that we've done here at El Terreno. So congratulations. We're going to move over to some questions in a second. Just for maybe a little bit of clarification before we do, could Nora and Theo, could you just maybe share a little bit about the scope that I gave at the beginning of the project, and what maybe the underlying purpose or mission could be behind developing what you've developed? And in the meantime, if you've got any questions, please raise your hand or put a message in the Q&A chat.
Yeah, of course. So as Nora said, in the context of the project, there were a lot of ancient techniques that were really efficient and really cheap and really useful in those communities a few maybe hundreds of years ago. And more with the arrival of concrete, they lost like quite those techniques, and they also lost a lot of comfort of living because those houses made with concrete blocks are really like not sustainable. They're really cold. We have talked with families that, yeah, just say like everything is really cold, and so then your children are getting sick and you're losing money to heal them and all that kind of stuff. And so the idea was to try and develop a model of housing that would be adapted for the people that are living here, would match their needs, and would provide a better life level. And then the first step, I mean, the second step would have been to construct it in front of where we live on Joshua's property, which would have been used to rent for some other interns or other people, but also to be able to show that we are able to construct this type of building and then build it for actual families. So come with the model, say it's going to cost us you maybe $5,000-6,000, and then families can just take maestros, use the plans, use the models, and build it. I hope I answered the question.
Great, fantastic. Do you want to share the question, or shall I read it?
I can read them.
Okay.
Is there something as Adobe tiles as an alternative for the bricks on the floor? I think we have. So the main problems we had with all those kind of alternatives are that, first of all, it's going to be a lot of labor. Then you also need to have something that is going to be practical. As Nora said, a concrete floor. I mean, the local populations at least think that a concrete floor is much more easier to clean, is much more like it's already planned, it's going fast. Of course, we are using concrete, which we don't especially like, but any of the solution we have been through for the floor were quite either more expensive, less practical, and yeah, we didn't find really an alternative to concrete floors.
Yeah, I guess I might add something. It's the same problem everywhere. If you're gonna have a family with a Minga connection, like if there is a community that works together, it might be an option to do the complete house only with bamboo, with some kind of ramped or earth floor, with tapial walls, with roof construction out of bamboo, with straw and everything. Like the materials would be much cheaper, but you would need all of these like locals to work together, which is something you can't like count on. It might happen, but it's yeah, we try to find a midway. And for the floor, it could be done with bricks. You would need to find a way to kind of seal the bricks, because obviously you're gonna have to like save them from water and whatever happens in a kitchen. And those ceilings would need to be done every couple of years, at least. So again, that would mean a lot of communication with the local people, a lot of like knowledge about these materials. And yeah, in my opinion, really interesting, but yeah, just complicated, really complicated.
I would agree, and you know, there are such things as earthen floors. It does exist. I think one of the other things could also be cultural, because a lot of the people who live in the old adobe houses, they had earthen floors, and it could be perceived as, you know, as Audi was saying, kind of going back in time and and becoming, it kind of represents poverty to local people in some way. So we haven't tested that assumption, but I would think that concrete would be seen as more modern. You know, one of the engineers was also saying that somebody tried to do some house designs which had no columns. It was like an entire building made out of just cement. But because the local people saw it and saw that there were no columns, they didn't think it was structurally sound enough. The reality is it was actually more structurally sound, but because of the perception of local people, the houses didn't sell. So that's what adds another layer of complexity alongside not only being cheap and it also being sustainable is the cultural perspective as well. Okay, we've got a question here from Fleur. What, in your opinion, would be the next steps on anthropological research / actions?
I mean, yeah, from what we have experienced here, to be honest, is that it's quite complicated to just go somewhere and ask someone you don't know about. So we have experienced that just walking around and try to show the plans and try to have some opinions of people. But I don't know what's the barrier, if they are scared, if they think we are trying to take advantage of them. But it's much more complicated to get answers than you would think. And like hopefully maybe the next step would be to try and go live with families, but in my opinion, it would need to be in families we know. So maybe in Joshua's contacts or in some builder we know, which could be a good thing. And then, yeah, just getting more approbation from the people living here. And of course, once we will have an actual house to show the local population, it will be a work to try and get the most thought of local people of the actual building.
I think one opportunity could be to make a workshop. Like we just had one today with the English teaching project that is going on right now. And might be possible that there are some connections where you could get those people together. Of course, you would need willingness in them to do some work for a project that they don't get anything out of. But there are some connections building up right now. And you could try to do a workshop with local people, showing them their plans, like not going into their houses, but on the other hand, like inviting them over here and showing them the project might change up the circumstances a little bit and get them together and just making sure that we are trying to learn something here from them. We're not trying to teach them anything. We are trying to learn. But yeah, that's a lot of communication that is very difficult, obviously.
Great. Well, while we're on that, maybe we do have one person from the community on the call. Wilma, le puedo preguntar eso en español. Como usted ya ha visto esta presentación y está más al tanto de lo que es, ¿qué son sus opiniones? ¿Qué le parece? ¿Qué parece usted personalmente? ¿Qué son las mejores? ¿Qué son las consideraciones? ¿Y cómo es que usted cree que la gente aquí pueden recibir este tipo de proyecto y este tipo de plano? Está en mute.
Gracias, Joshua. Me ayuda, por favor, con la traducción. Yo quiero compartir mi idea con las personas que están aquí. Yo he pensado mucho en en reducir el déficit de viviendas para jóvenes que no tenemos. Entonces, yo creo que hacer proyectos de construcciones económicas es un plan muy importante para las familias de la comunidad.
So Wilmer
Continúo.
so Wilmer's been thinking about this kind of project for a while now, and he understands that for young people, especially, that they need to have low cost housing, which isn't really available for them, and a project like this is really important. ¿Y qué opina usted? Sí, perdón, siga nomás.
Sí. Entonces, obtener una casa para las personas que no tenemos significaría mucho para no migrar de la localidad. Entonces, el aporte de los pasantes es muy importante porque con el conocimiento que también ellos tienen, es una motivación para sumergirnos en nuevos proyectos habitacionales, porque ha habido la experiencia tanto de Gina como de Daisy que están contentas porque ya tienen sus casas. Entonces, se puede financiar las casas por las propias personas, y lo que se necesita es ayuda en cuanto a lo técnico, porque aquí construimos sin parte técnica, sin arquitectos, sin diseño. Entonces, esto nos pasó en la casa de Daisy, que construimos sin saber lo que va a ser el terminado final, y ahora al final, pues de todas maneras, Daisy está muy motivada incluso a emprender para continuar con su casa. Gracias, Joshua. ¿Alguna pregunta?
Muy bien, gracias. So what he's saying is that, the opportunity for young people to have access to low-cost housing could really make a difference in terms of migration, and migration is a big challenge that we face here in the region. And Wilm's been working on Daisy's house as well, alongside Theo and Nora, and is very motivated to take these kinds of projects forwards. And a lot of people build without architects, without engineers, and so the work that the interns are doing is helping to bridge that gap and helping to give them some knowledge and ideas of what a project like this might look like and what kind of impact it might have in the local communities. Y finalmente una pregunta para usted. ¿Qué opina como morador? ¿Qué opina del diseño en sí, de lo que usted ha visto en esta presentación? Está en mute otra vez.
Lo siento. Para mí es una presentación nueva. Nosotros no acostumbramos a tener este tipo de presentaciones de las actividades que realizamos. Entonces, para mí me parece muy bien, inclusive que la podríamos replicar estos tipos de trabajos dentro de los proyectos con personas de la comunidad.
Okay, so he's aware that a lot of people don't participate in these kinds of presentations or activities, but it'd be great to replicate it for the members of the local community. Muchas gracias, Wilmer. And I think I saw another question from Tiva.
There's another question in the chat I would like to answer. I think it's nothing you would see around here, like using straw or in general natural insulation on concrete brick houses. There's in general not a lot of use of insulation around here. because people normally can't afford it, or they don't even think about something like that. It's not a very usual thing. In Germany, though, straw as an insulation is more and more getting popular again. There are a lot of materials you can use, like EPS, like more plastic insulation on top of concrete brick walls without a problem. With natural materials, it's always a little bit more complicated, because if you put insulation, you should put it outside, like not on the inside of the wall, you should put it outside of the wall. And you need to like make sure it's not contaminated with water in any way. So you need to build a construction and then fill that construction with, for example, straw, and make sure it's covered from all sides by the roof especially, but also like from the outside with a kind of plank, wooden planks, for example. So there are definitely options. Could be a nice side project to find a way to level up the houses that are already built. Like the picture I showed, there are a lot of houses like that made out of concrete blocks, and finding a way to like make those existing houses a little bit warmer, a little bit nicer to live in, could be a side project. There are definitely solutions for that, but it's nothing I have seen around here before. So that would be something new, I think.
And it would be, go on, you go, Theo.
And yeah, as I think, as Nora said, it's also like because of the mentality of the people here. I think like it's maybe sometimes due to a lack of knowledge. As Joshua said, they are only taking a maestro, and the maestro is doing the work. And like it's not what they are used to. So the maestros are doing what they know how to do, and they are not going to go through like try and go and concrete and some straw in there. And as no, I don't think it would be a good match, to be honest, because the concrete can't preserve the straw from being wet. The concrete is porous, so the water is going to get through, and you would need to apply something on the outside every like 5-10 years, which is annoying when you're building a house. So yeah, there's probably solutions to try and put some insulation into the walls. Concrete might not be the best idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the community question of, if you ask the local people, what would they say? Would you pay more money to have your house insulated? T-Bot, you have to come and ask that question. Yeah, there's so many questions. There's so many little nuances. I think we'll leave it there because we've been going for coming up to an hour and a half. So I want to thank everybody for coming to participate in this presentation. I really hope that this is just the first stage, the first step, and the beginning of what this project could turn into. You've already just heard from Wilma about, you know, the potential impact that it has in the communities. Obviously, as Nora was mentioning, the English classes we did today in building a house, they're projects on very different scales, and there's a lot more time and money that goes into it. But by finding a solution that is really sustainable and relevant to the local population, I think that there's a real potential of impact there. So I want to congratulate the two of you for all of the hard work over the last few months. You've put a lot of dedication and commitment and brought a lot of diverse skills alongside Erin, Charlotte, and Sophia. Together, you all made a really great team. So I'm really happy that you guys were the people that were able to get this started. And as you said, help is on the way.
Hope so.
Yeah, thank you, Joshua, and thank you to everybody who came. I hope it was interesting and not too tiring. I know it's late in Germany right now.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for your time. Wishing you all well. If you're interested to find out more about El Terreno, you can find us on www.elterrenoecuador.com. And until next time, we'll be in touch. Wishing you all the best. Hasta luego.
See you next
Bye
time.
bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.